Jake stood in the chemistry lab of Riverside Academy and felt his stomach turn. The morning had been terrible. His test results had come back with a bad grade. His friends were talking about going to a party that night, and nobody had invited him. Now he had to get through the chemistry class, which was his worst subject. The lab was crowded. Students from different planets and species moved between workstations. The academy had just started accepting exchange students from other worlds. Some came from species that were tall and strong. Some came from species that had special powers, and some came from Earth. The humans from Earth were different. They were smaller than most students. They did not have special powers. They did not have advanced technology built into their bodies. Most of the students at the academy did not take them seriously. Teachers treated them like they were made of glass. Other students pushed past them in hallways. Nobody really cared what they thought or what they did. Jake his skin was hard and clear like crystal. He was strong. His body could take more damage than most species. He had always believed that his strength made him better. He had never really thought about the humans from Earth until they showed up at his school. Myra Hayes was the human girl in his chemistry class. She had been at the academy for 3 weeks. She was quiet. She did not talk much to the other students. She sat at the back of the class and did her work without causing problems. Jake had barely noticed her until today. The chemistry experiment was dangerous. The teacher had given them a chemical that could burn or explode if it was not handled correctly. Jake was supposed to carry the beaker across the lab to a special container. He was not thinking about the people around him. He was thinking about the bad test score and the party he was not invited to. Jake turned around very fast. He was carrying the beaker in his right hand. His arm hit something. It hit Myra Hayes. The beaker moved through the air. Some of the liquid splashed out. Jake felt the panic come up inside him. If that chemical hit the equipment, there would be a big problem. Without thinking, Jake pushed Myra out of the way. He pushed her hard. He did not mean to hurt her. He just wanted to stop her from knocking over the expensive equipment. She was small and light. When his hand pushed her shoulder, her feet left the ground. She crashed into the lab table behind her. The crash was loud. The sound of her body hitting the table made all the students turn and look. Myra fell down. Her body hit the hard floor. For 1 second, nothing happened. Nobody moved. Nobody said anything. Then Myra pushed herself up. She was not slow. She moved like someone who had done this before. She put her hands on the table and lifted herself up. Her legs were steady when she stood. She looked at her hands to see if they were hurt. Then she looked at the floor to see if there was any damage to the lab. When she looked up, Jake saw her eyes. Her eyes were wet with tears, but she was not crying because she was sad. She was crying because she was angry, very angry. Her hands were shaking. Her jaw was tight. Her eyes looked like fire. Myra did not say anything. She did not yell. She did not call the teacher. She just looked at Jake for 3 seconds. Then she turned away and walked to the sink to wash her hands. She picked up her books. She walked out of the lab without looking back. The teacher came over to Jake. She asked if he was okay. She asked if Myra was okay. Jake said yes. He said it was an accident. The teacher believed him. She told him to be more careful. She told him to finish the experiment. But Jake could not focus on the work. He kept thinking about the way Myra looked at him. He kept thinking about her eyes full of tears and anger. He had not meant to hurt her. He had been trying to protect the equipment. Why did she look at him like that? Why did she not say anything? Why did she just walk away? By the time lunch came, the story had spread through the whole school. Jake heard students talking about it. They said he pushed the human girl. They said he showed her that he was stronger. They said it was funny. They said humans were weak and should not be at the academy. Jake did not think it was funny. He felt something bad in his chest. He felt guilty. He felt worried about what might happen next. The humans were already treated badly at the school. Now because of him, they would be treated even worse. Everyone would think he had pushed Myra on purpose. The afternoon classes felt like they lasted forever. Jake could not concentrate. He kept looking around to see if Myra was there. She was not in the hallway between classes. She was not in the food line at lunch. She was not sitting with the other human students. When the last class ended, Jake went to find her. He wanted to say he was sorry. He wanted to explain that it was an accident. He did not know where she would be. He checked the library. He checked the outdoor areas. He finally found her sitting alone on a bench near the academy gardens. Myra did not look up when he came close. She just kept looking at the ground. Jake sat down on the bench next to her. He did not know what to say. He wanted to explain, but every word that came to his mind seemed wrong. Finally, he just said he was sorry. He told her it was an accident. He told her he did not mean to push her so hard. Myra still did not look at him. She did not say anything. Jake thought maybe she did not want to talk to him. He thought maybe he should just leave. But then Myra turned her head and looked at him. Her eyes were not full of tears anymore. They were cold. They were serious. She was looking at him like he was something dangerous, like he was something she needed to be careful about. 3 days had passed since the accident in the chemistry lab. Jake had not slept well. Every night he lay in his room and thought about what Myra had said. 3 seconds. What did that mean? He felt something bad coming, but nothing happened. No fight. No official complaint. Just silence. The silence was worse than anything else. On the morning of the 4th day, Jake got a message on his school computer. He had been called to the conflict resolution office. His heart sank. This was the official response. He was going to get in trouble. He was going to be punished. He walked to the office with his shoulders heavy. The conflict resolution office was in the center building of the academy. The mediator was unnamed, were known for being fair and neutral. They did not take sides. They just looked at facts. Myra was already sitting in a chair across from the mediator's desk when Jake came in. Told them to sit. He told them this was a safe place to talk. He told them they needed to understand each other. He asked Jake to explain what happened in the chemistry lab. Jake told the story. He said he turned around too fast. He said his arm hit Myra by accident. He said he pushed her to stop her from breaking the equipment. He said he did not mean to hurt her. He was trying to help. Looked at Myra. He asked her to tell her story. Myra spoke in a calm voice. She did not sound angry anymore. She sounded like someone explaining something that was very important and very serious. She told about Earth culture. She said on Earth, when someone pushed you during a conflict, it was not just an accident. It was a show of power. It was a challenge. She explained that when someone challenged you on Earth, there were rules. You had the right to respond. You had the right to fight back. You had the right to defend yourself. When Jake pushed her, he had challenged her. By Earth law and Earth culture, she had the right to hurt him back. She had every reason to do it. Jake felt his face go cold. He had not thought about it that way. Myra continued. She said she did not fight back. She said she realized right away that Jake did not understand Earth customs. She said she understood that we're raised to see humans as weak and fragile. She said she had made a choice. She chose not to respond with violence because she was at the academy to learn, not to fight. But then she looked directly at Jake. She said something that made his blood freeze. She said every human child learned to fight. Every human child learned to read danger. Every human child learned to respond with force when they needed to. The only reason Jake was standing in this office was because she had decided to be merciful. Asked her to explain what she meant. Myra took a breath. She started talking about Earth. She told them Earth was a hard planet. The sun was hot in some places. The cold was deadly in others. The rain could poison you. The animals on Earth were built to hunt and kill. Some of them were bigger than humans. Some of them were faster. Some of them had teeth and claws that could tear through flesh. But humans survived anyway. Myra described a disease that lived on Earth. It could make your organs stop working in just hours. It could kill you before you even knew you were sick. Humans learned how to fight this disease. They learned how to survive it. They learned how to live on a planet that wanted to kill them. She told them about the heat and the cold and the rain and the danger. She told them humans had to be strong because Earth demanded strength. A human baby had to learn to be tough or die. A human child had to learn to fight or be killed by the animals. A human teenager had to understand danger or not make it to adulthood. This was not like other worlds. Other worlds were safe. Other worlds had nice weather. Other worlds did not try to kill you every day. Earth was different. Jake started to understand. He had always thought humans were weak. He had been wrong. They were not weak. They were survivors. Myra said something else. She said her father was a military commander. Her mother was an engineer who made weapons. Her family had been training soldiers for many generations. Myra had grown up learning to fight. She had learned hand-to-hand combat. She had learned to use weapons. She had learned to read a person and understand if they were dangerous. When Jake pushed her, she had read him in half a second. She understood he was not trying to hurt her. She understood it was an accident, but she could have killed him. If she had wanted to, she could have killed him with her hands in seconds. She had that training. She had that skill. She had that power. The room was very quiet. Looked at Jake. He asked if Jake understood what Myra was saying. Jake nodded. He understood. He had pushed someone he thought was weak. But that person was not weak. That person was a trained soldier from a deadly world. That person had chosen not to hurt him. That person had been kind enough to let him live. Said the Academy needed to understand something important. Humans were not fragile. Humans were not weak. Humans were different from most species, but different did not mean worse. Different meant they came from a world that made them strong in different ways. Myra added one more thing. She said humans were at the Academy to learn and to understand the galaxy. But humans were also here because Earth was starting to prepare itself. Earth did not want war. Earth wanted peace. But Earth was learning how to defend itself because that was what did, learn to survive. Jake left the office with his mind completely changed. He had thought the 3 seconds in the chemistry lab was about a push. He was wrong. Those 3 seconds had been about him learning that he did not know anything about humans. Those 3 seconds had been the beginning of him understanding. 2 weeks after the conflict resolution meeting, Jake had changed his whole daily routine. Every day after classes, he went to the library. He did not go there to do his homework anymore. He went there to learn about Earth. He started with basic books about human history. He read about the great wars that humans had fought. He learned about the diseases that had killed millions of people. He read about the natural disasters that had destroyed whole cities. He learned about the animals that hunted humans and the way humans had learned to hunt back. The more he read, the more shocked he became. Humans had come from a planet where everything wanted to kill them, and they had not just survived. They had created music and art and philosophy and science even while they were fighting to stay alive. They had loved each other and made families and built communities in the middle of the most dangerous environment in the known galaxy. Jake moved from history books to science books. He read about human biology. This was where his mind really started to change. Human DNA was designed for survival on a deadly world. Their immune system could fight off diseases that would kill most species in hours. If a human got a cut, their blood would stop the bleeding faster than almost any other species. Their bones could break and heal. Their muscles could work for long periods without getting tired as fast as other creatures. But there was more. Human brains were different. Humans could push through pain. Humans could keep thinking even when they were scared. Humans could remember experiences and learn from them faster than most species. Humans could work together and create plans that were better than the plans one human could make alone. Jake read about something called compartmentalization. This was the ability to separate emotions from actions. A human could be terrified and still do what needed to be done. A human could be sad and still survive. A human could be angry and still think clearly. This was not something most species could do. This made humans very dangerous. He read medical reports. Humans could survive injuries that would kill other species. A human could lose blood and still keep moving. A human could have broken bones and still fight. A human could be sick and still function. They were like machines that would not stop. Then Jake found something that changed how he understood everything. He found a report written by a scientist who had studied humans. The scientist wrote that humans were the only species in the known galaxy that was designed to survive on a planet like Earth. Other species had special abilities. Other species had technology. But humans had something different. Humans had pure, raw survival instinct built into their bodies and minds. The report said that a single human soldier with no weapons could be as dangerous as a soldier with advanced equipment. The report said humans recovered from injuries faster than most species. The report said humans could run and fight and survive under conditions that would kill most other creatures. The scientist who wrote the report concluded that humans were not weak. The scientist said that any species that treated humans as fragile or unimportant was making a very big mistake. Jake sat back from the computer screen. He felt dizzy. He had been wrong about everything. He had thought his species was superior. He had thought strength came from being big and strong, but strength came from surviving, and humans knew how to survive better than anyone. He decided to find Myra and ask her about this. He did not know if she would want to talk to him, but he had to try. He found her sitting in the academy gardens. She was reading a book about biology. She did not look surprised when he sat down next to her. Jake asked her directly. He asked if what the scientist wrote was true. He asked if humans were really that strong. Myra closed her book. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she said yes, it was true. Everything that scientist had written was true, but she said something more. She said humans were strong, but being strong was not just about the body. Being strong was also about the mind. She told him about her mother. Her mother had been injured in a military operation. Her mother had lost a lot of blood. The doctors said her mother might not survive, but her mother did survive. Her mother went to the hospital, and within weeks she was back to training soldiers. She told him about her father. Her father had seen terrible things in his work, but her father did not give up. Her father kept going because that was what did. They kept going. She told him about herself. She had been pushed in a chemistry class by a student. Most humans in that situation would have been scared, but Myra was not scared. Myra had been ready to respond. Myra had already read Jake and understood what he was. Myra had already decided what to do. Jake asked her something. He asked if she had ever really wanted to fight him that day. Myra smiled a little. She said no. She said she had known from the beginning that it was an accident. She said she had forgiven him within seconds of hitting the ground. But she said she had a job to do at the academy. Her job was to show other species what humans really were. Jake asked her what she meant. She said that Earth had sent humans to the academy not to learn like normal students. Earth had sent humans to the academy to be ambassadors. Humans were going to be part of the galactic community, whether other species liked it or not. Other species needed to understand that humans were not weak. Other species needed to understand that humans would stand up for themselves. But Myra said something else that was very important. She said humans were not here to conquer anyone. Humans were not here to prove they were the best species. Humans were here to show that they belonged. Humans were here to show they were equal to any other species in the galaxy. Jake felt something change inside him. He understood now. Myra had not been angry at him because he pushed her. Myra had been angry because she wanted him to learn something. She wanted him to change. She wanted him to become someone who understood the truth about humans. He asked Myra if they could be friends. He said he wanted to help other students understand about Earth and humans. He said he wanted to tell them what he had learned. Myra thought about this. She said maybe. She said she would see if she could trust him. She said trust was something that had to be earned. Over the next 2 weeks, Jake started teaching other students about human history and human biology. At first, other students laughed at him. They said he was crazy. They said humans were not as strong as he was saying. But Jake had facts. Jake had books. Jake had research from their own scientists. Slowly, other students started to understand. Slowly, the attitude toward humans at the academy started to change. And Myra started to trust him. The first month of the second semester started quietly. Jake and Myra had become friends. Other students had stopped making jokes about humans. Some students were even studying with human students. Things were getting better at Riverside Academy. Then showed up and decided that change was dangerous. Was from the species. They were an older civilization. They had advanced technology. They had weapons that could destroy planets. Believed that they were the most important species in the galaxy. He believed that other species should follow rules and values. Had friends who thought the same way he did. They started having private meetings. They talked about how humans were a threat to the galaxy. They said humans were violent and unpredictable. They said humans should not be allowed at the academy. At first it was just talk, but then it became something more serious. Jake discovered the plan by accident. He overheard talking to another student in the hallway, said they were going to make sure no human student graduated from Riverside Academy. They were going to sabotage the human students' grades. They were going to make sure the human students failed their classes. They were going to make it look like the humans were not smart enough for the academy. And if that did not work, they would create accidents. They would make sure humans got hurt in the laboratory experiments. They would make sure humans got hurt in dangerous situations. They would make it look like the humans were clumsy and weak. Jake felt ice in his chest. This was not just talk anymore. This was a real plan to hurt people. He had to tell Myra. He had to warn her. He found her in the library the next morning. He told her everything he had heard. He told her about and his friends. He told her about the plan to sabotage their grades. He told her about the plan to create accidents. Myra listened without interrupting. When Jake finished, she did not look scared. She looked like someone who had already thought about this possibility. She said something that confused Jake at first. She said thank you for the warning. She said this was actually helpful information. She said she and the other humans had been waiting for something like this to happen. Jake asked her what she meant. He asked what they were going to do. Myra said they were not going to fight. She said they were not going to use violence. She said they were going to do something much better. They were going to expose and his friends using their own plan against them. She explained her strategy. The human students had already suspected something like this was coming. They had started recording conversations. They had started documenting every threat. They had been gathering evidence for weeks. When and his friends made their move, the humans would have everything recorded. They would have video of the sabotage. They would have voice recordings of the threats. They would have written documents with signatures. They would have proof that could not be. Then they would take all of this evidence to the Academy Council and to the Galactic authorities. They would let the system handle the punishment. They would let the law do its job. Jake asked Myra if she was sure this would work. He said was very powerful. He said the government was very powerful. Myra said yes, she was sure. She said this was how handled problems. Humans did not just use force. Humans used intelligence. Humans used planning. Humans used strategy. Humans created situations where their enemy had no choice but to surrender. She said thought humans were stupid, thought humans were weak, but humans were going to show that strength was not about power. Strength was about being smart enough to win without fighting. Jake asked if he could help. He asked what he could do. Myra thought about this. She said there was something he could do. She said if he could keep reporting to them what was planning, they would know what move to make next. She said an insider would be very valuable. She said if Jake could be that insider, it would help them win. Jake said yes immediately. He said he would do whatever they needed. For the next 2 weeks, Jake became a spy. He listened to what and his friends said. He reported everything to Myra, was planning to sabotage the laboratory equipment in a way that would make it seem like a human student caused the problem, was planning to change grades in the computer system, was planning to talk to other important people and convince them that humans were a threat. But the human students were always one step ahead. Every time made a plan, the humans documented it. Every time told someone his ideas, they had a recording. Every time changed something in the computer system, they had the evidence. Then one day, made his big move. He decided to create an accident in the laboratory. He put something toxic in an experiment that a human student was supposed to do. He planned to make it look like the human student had made a mistake. But the human students knew this was coming. When the human student came to do the experiment, Myra was there watching. She took photos of everything. She documented the toxic substance. She recorded placing it in the equipment. When the human student started the experiment, nothing happened. The toxic substance had been removed and replaced with a harmless substance. Did not know he had failed. That night, Myra and the other human students put together all their evidence. They made a presentation. They gathered all the recordings, all the videos, all the documents. They created a complete picture of what had done and what he had planned to do. The next morning, they went to the Academy Council. They presented their evidence. They showed the council everything. The council members looked shocked. Some of them looked angry. This was a very serious matter. A student had planned to hurt other students. A student had tried to sabotage the academy. A student had broken major rules. The council called into their office. They showed him the evidence. They asked him to explain. Said nothing. He could not explain. The evidence was too clear. He could not deny what he had done. The Academy Council voted. They voted to expel from the Academy immediately. They voted to expel all his friends who had helped him. They voted to send a report to the government explaining what had happened. The government was embarrassed. A student had tried to hurt humans. A student had broken Academy rules. The government sent an official apology to Earth's representatives. The semester ended with big changes at Riverside Academy. The Academy Council made new rules about how different species should treat each other. They made rules against bullying and discrimination. They created a program where older students would teach younger students about different cultures and different worlds. Jake was asked to be part of this program. He was asked to help teach other students about humans and human culture. He agreed immediately. But before the new semester started, Jake had one more thing he wanted to do. He wanted to talk to Myra alone. He wanted to ask her something that had been on his mind since the day of the accident. He found her on the observation deck of the academy. This was the place where students could look out at the stars. On a clear night, you could see 10 different planets from the observation deck. Myra was standing at the edge, looking out at the stars. Jake came and stood next to her. For a long time, neither of them said anything. They just looked at the stars. Finally, Jake asked the question that had been in his mind. He asked Myra if she had really been angry at him that day in the chemistry lab. He asked if she had ever really planned to fight him. Myra turned to look at him. She smiled a little. She said no. She said she had known from the moment she hit the ground that it was an accident. She said she had forgiven him before she even stood up. Jake asked why then. Why did she look so angry? Why did she say those things about Earth and humans? Why did she make him think she was going to hurt him? Myra said because he needed to learn something. She said when he pushed her, he was not thinking about her as a person. He was just thinking about protecting equipment. He did not see her as someone important. He did not see her as someone worthy of respect. She said that the only way to make him understand was to scare him a little. She said that the only way to make him really learn was to show him what humans could do. She said she had to make him understand that humans were not fragile creatures that needed protection. Jake said he understood now. He said he had learned that lesson very well. Myra said she was glad. She said she had needed him to learn because, like Jake, were going to be important in the future. She said that someday humans would need friends. She said that someday humans would need to work with to face challenges together. She said that could only happen if understood and respected humans. Jake asked her what she thought the future would be like for humans in the galaxy. Myra looked back out at the stars. She said humans would not be the strongest species. Humans would never have the most advanced technology. Humans would never have the biggest armies or the most resources, but humans would survive. Humans would create. Humans would inspire others. Humans would change the way the galaxy worked. She said the reason was that humans understood something that most other species did not understand. Humans understood that survival was not just about strength. Survival was about hope. Survival was about working together. Survival was about creating beauty and meaning even in the darkest places. She said Earth had taught humans how to do this. A planet that wanted to kill its people had forced humans to learn how to be both strong and kind. It had forced humans to understand both force and mercy. Jake asked Myra if she thought she would stay at the academy for the full program. The exchange program was supposed to last 3 years. She said yes. She said her parents wanted her to learn as much as possible. She said Earth was depending on students like her to bring knowledge and understanding back home. She said this was not just school. This was preparation. Jake asked preparation for what? Myra said she did not want to say too much, but she said that Earth was a young civilization in the galactic community. Earth was learning how to work with other species. Earth was learning how to be part of something bigger than itself, but someday Earth might need to defend itself, and when that day came, humans would be ready. Jake felt something serious in her words. He understood that she was talking about things beyond just school and friendship. He said something to her. He said he would help. He said that his people, could be friends with humans. He said that other species could be friends with humans too. Myra smiled. She said she believed him. She said that every friendship between a human and someone from another species was a small step toward a peaceful future. They stood together in silence, looking at the stars. Jake thought about the day when everything changed. He thought about the 3 seconds when he had pushed a girl in a chemistry lab. He thought about how those 3 seconds had led to friendship. He thought about how friendship had led to courage. He thought about how courage had led to change. The observation deck was getting dark. The stars were getting brighter. Jake could see lights from planets far away. Each light was a world. Each world had people living on it. Each of those people had their own stories and their own challenges. Somewhere down there on a planet called Earth, there were other humans. They were growing up on a world that wanted to kill them. They were learning to survive. They were learning to be strong. And they were learning that strength meant helping others. Strength meant being kind. Strength meant working together. Myra said she had to go to her dormitory. She said she had a lot of studying to do for her final exams. Jake said okay. He said he would see her next semester. She started to walk away, then she stopped. She turned back to him. She said thank you for being her friend. She said thank you for choosing to understand instead of choosing to be afraid. Jake said back to her that he was the one who should say thank you. He said thank you for showing him the truth. He said thank you for teaching him what it meant to be strong. She smiled and walked away into the darkness. Jake stayed on the observation deck for a while longer. He thought about everything that had happened. In 3 seconds, his world had changed. In 3 seconds, he had pushed a girl. In 3 seconds, he had started down a path that had changed not just his life, but the lives of other students at the academy. He thought about the chemistry lab and the moment of impact. He thought about how he had not known what he was doing. He thought about how he had not understood what would come next. And he thought about Myra. He thought about a girl from a deadly world who had the power to hurt him but chose to help him instead. He thought about how she had turned an accident into a lesson. He thought about how she had turned a conflict into a friendship. The stars shone above him. They were so far away, but they were so bright. They looked like hope. They looked like possibility. They looked like the future. Jake understood now what Myra had meant about those 3 seconds. Those 3 seconds had not been about violence. Those 3 seconds had been about choice. Jake had chosen to push her. She had chosen not to push back. Jake had chosen to learn. She had chosen to teach. And now the whole galaxy was making choices too. Would other species accept humans as equals? Would other species learn to respect humans? Would other species choose friendship over fear? Jake believed the answer was yes. He believed it because of Myra. He believed it because of the 3 seconds that had changed everything. He believed it because he had learned what true strength really meant. The whole galaxy was watching. News organizations started reporting the story. The story was about how a group of humans had caught a plot. The story was about how humans had been smarter and more clever than their enemies. Jake felt proud. He had helped make this happen. He had been on the right side of history. But more important than that, Jake had learned what real friendship meant. Myra had trusted him. The other human students had trusted him, and together they had won. Truth. Over the next week, Jake could not stop thinking about what Myra had told him. He started going to the library and reading about Earth. He read about the animals. He read about the diseases. He read about the way humans had survived and built cities and created art even though their world was trying to kill them. He started to understand something new. Humans were not just strong because of their bodies. Humans were strong because of their minds. Humans were strong because they could create and imagine and dream even when life was hard. That was a kind of strength that even the most advanced species could not match. When Jake saw Myra in the hallway the next day, he did not try to talk to her. He just nodded. She nodded back. It was a small thing, but it felt important. It felt like the beginning of something new. She told him one thing. She said in 3 seconds he had changed everything. Then she stood up and walked away. Jake sat on the bench alone and tried to understand what she meant. What had he done? What was coming next? He did not know the answer, but he knew it was going to be bad. The sun was going down. The shadows got longer across the academy grounds. Jake felt like he was standing at the edge of something big and dark. He did not know what was coming, but he knew his life at school was about to change in ways he could not imagine.